Hey, what's happening, everybody? Willie here at the Great Outdoors. Hey, first off, I'm gonna tell you, I'm tired of being indoors at the Great Outdoors. This whole indoors at the Great Outdoors thing is getting old. Now, you know, I love to tear apart a daggone fishing reel. And I love to show you guys what I do when I tear apart a fishing reel. And most of you might say, well, hey man, tearing apart fishing reels, that's your bread and butter. Well, you know what? Bread and butter's great. But sometimes you like eggs and bacon to go along with it. Because I can tell you right now, mustard just ain't the same without roast beef. What I'm getting at is, it's about time to break loose on some variety. I'm a little burnt out here with fishing reels. Now I'm saying I love to do it. Man, do I love to tear apart a fishing reel, put it back together again and make it work. But there's more to it. There's actual fishing. Okay, last week I caught a couple of fish. Man, the taste was back. I was ready to go get out there and do it again. But I'm going to tell you, those two fish that we caught, it took a long time to get them to hit, especially when you're dealing with fishing from the bank. I don't have a boat. I had a kayak some time back, and a very good friend of mine, good old Brian Smith, he bought my kayak and took it all the way to Pennsylvania. That's right, he took it to Pennsylvania, where he's had it in the rivers up there, and he's been catching smallmouth like crazy with that doggone thing. But of course his season kind of fell apart too, because it got cold and windy and rainy, and here recently I think we've all had our share of rain and flooded rivers and all that craziness. But regardless, today what we're going to talk about is none other than a fishing reel. But you know I've been stuck on those green reels, and we've been talking about the Chinese 45th anniversaries and taking them out and making them work and seeing how well they actually function. And we are going to actually do a giveaway on one of those reels when the time comes, and that I can actually feel comfortable giving away one of those reels to someone who I think would enjoy it. Or even if you don't enjoy it, if you put in for it and you win it, it's yours to do with as you please. But I am not the kind of person that wants to send something out. I don't like people getting things that don't function. Now, I'm not going to say that any Johnson reel functions correctly all the time, because it doesn't. I don't know that I've ever had one that didn't give me some sort of problem at some point. Whether it be a little bit of a tangled line thing, or you go to cast and it doesn't cast thing, and then I had to take the cap off and take the rotor off and piddle around and figure out what the problem was. I don't know that I've ever had one that didn't at some point give me a problem. But then again, that kind of goes with spin cast reels in general. Doesn't matter if it's an Abimatic, doesn't matter if it's a Zebco, doesn't matter if it's a Johnson or whoever. They have their problems. All of them do. Which is why most people go to bait casters, because the only problem you really ever have with a bait caster is that you can't cast it worth a darn and you backlash it every time. Well, that's on you, not on the reel. So stop blaming the reel. Who am I talking to? Me? For a minute there, I thought my conscience was in the room standing on my shoulder or behind me or something. Now, I'm not good with a bait caster. I never have been, but I didn't put a lot of time and effort into it because I like to fish, and I like to spend more time actually fishing than I do untangling. So could I have gotten better? Yeah, I could have, but there's also such things as spinning reels. So I'm okay with it. Spinning reels, spin cast reels, I'm okay with those. Totally all right with it. Doesn't bother me. I'm totally good with it. You know, they say winners never quit. But you know what quitters get to do? Move on to something else. That's right. I just move on to other things, like fishing, instead of untangling. Now, maybe some of you may say, well, that's no way to go through life. Well, I've done pretty well thus far. I catch fish and I enjoy it. But what actually happened was I just all of a sudden had this massive love affair with spin cast reels and all the different ones that were out there, and a lot of the ones that I never got to use. And a lot of the ones that I did use that I just didn't understand. So that's the whole reason for me and the whole spin cast thing. I just think they're cool. All the mechanisms, some of them are different, some of them are quite the same. But every time I open one up, I learn something. And I think that's cool. I enjoy that. So, get off me about it. Anyway, not talking about those green reels today. We're going to talk about something else. That's right, we're going to talk about a silver reel. It's all silver. The Johnson DLX Century 100B. It's not green, silly people. That's right. The DLX. Gary Barber sent me this reel with some extra parts for a bunch of the 45th anniversaries that I'm doing. This is the DLX. Now, what is the DLX? What is the DLX? What's so big about this reel? Well, I'm going to tell you. It actually has a bearing. That's right. It says so right there. Bearing drive. Infinite anti-reverse. Now, the funny thing is, this is a Chinese version. That's right. It's a Chinese version. It says so right there. It's Chinese version right under there. It actually doesn't say that, but it says made in China. They made two versions of this reel. They made an American version and this Chinese version. It just so happens that Gary had enough parts laying around that he put this one together for me to basically bring back, or send to me, basically, and allow me to dissect the Chinese DLX Century 100B. Now there's some things that are very close to normal. You know, your drag is pretty much the same as it would be on the 45th anniversary. The button's pretty much the same. Your cap is solid. Now this is not the crank arm that goes on it, okay? That's right here. But that brings me around to something I'm going to tell you. There were two flaws with these reels. One is the crank arm. They're aluminum, okay? Which means you have a steel shaft, crankshaft going into that hole right there. What would happen is it would bend that aluminum, mess it up into where this crank arm is just flopping back and forth on the thing, and then eventually you end up completely rounding it off because this is aluminum. Aluminum and brass appear to be two of the most used crank arm metals. I don't know why chroming steel wasn't done. I guess it had something to do with corrosion and rust and all that kind of stuff. But sadly, aluminum and brass, they're just not very strong. So if you do use a reel for a certain long period of time, what ends up happening is you just end up, here we go, we're going to throw down some redneck lingo on you, wallering. That's right, wallering. I'm sorry, it's a word. It wallers the hole out where the crank arm gets loose and eventually will completely round out to where there's no grip whatsoever and you can't reel in nothing. Now, I don't know about you, casting's great, but if you only get one cast, how much fun could it possibly be? You can't retrieve. So if you hook something, what are you going to do then? Grab a stick? Start winding your line up? Anyway, enough about that. Let's get down to the table. Let's tear this thing apart. Let's look inside this thing and see just exactly what makes a DLX tick. Because if it does tick, this one doesn't tick at all, actually. It does grind a little bit, but it doesn't tick. And, you know, we're very used to hearing the tick, 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 tick when we do that, but this one doesn't do that. So maybe it's that quiet bearing in there. Don't want to scare the fish. Let's get you down here and tear this thing apart, and we'll get to see what the insides of a Johnson Century DLX 100B looks like. Let's get us a bowl or five here. Let's put them there. Let me take his hat off. I don't really think it's necessary for me to have a hat on with trying to work on a fishing reel. Let's see what we got going on here. First off, we'll unscrew this cap. I say we'll unscrew this cap. It appears to be aluminum as well. Then we have what we consider the typical. That's what we're going to call it anyway. Let's get a wrench here. We have the typical nut holding the rotor on. We'll set that nut in there. That appears to be aluminum or something as well. Hey, look at that. I got two spacers laying in there. I need to get out of there. Then we have, this is what I consider the typical, because this is just like the Chinese 45th anniversaries. It has the dual retrieval pins. This one, on the other hand, though, they kind of stick out kind of far too. Those have a tendency to stick out just enough that I noticed on the 45th anniversaries that they're catching the line sometimes. So we might have to take a look into these, see what we can do about that. There's our typical hairpin holding the spool down. We'll put that in there. That appears to be steel. Then we have, that looks about the same as all of them do, spool. Then we have our plastic drag bushing thingy bedoodle bobs. Never did actually learn what the technical word for those are. Come off there, Doodle Bobs. There's two of them. Two Doodle Bobs. All right, Doodle Bob, thank you for coming out. Right there. Now, no real need for me to take this apart because it looks identical to the other ones, but this is our copper clicker do for when that fish starts taking off across the water and pulling that drag. That's what you're going to hear. That little piece right there is what you hear going flying across there when them fish take off. Okay, that plastic piece, that unscrews. That is where your pinion shaft comes through. We know that unscrews. This is where things are going to get exciting because supposedly hiding in here somewhere is a bearing. And if there is, I'm going to show you the other bad thing about these reels that Gary was telling me and showed me some pictures of actually. How about the first thing we do is we set this. Gary's already gone through this. Daggone it, now I don't have anything to do. We're still going to look at it though. That's alright. He's like me. He's not going to send me something that needs work other than 111 45th anniversaries. Okay, I'm just going to take that plate off of there. There's nothing in here in this part that is any different than the 45th anniversaries. This is pretty much the same. You could take this body right here, it looks like, and you could probably use it with the 45th anniversary stuff. So where is our difference going to be? It is going to be in this mechanism right here. Now, the difference that you have here, two things. No clicker because you have no anti-reverse, okay? So when you wind, it's quiet. There's nothing happening there. No play in that thing at all. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this nut off of here. This is an important part. This is important to see. I hope you're paying attention. There will be a quiz. And for those of you who do actually watch my videos all the way through, I thank you very much. Put down there in the comments if you actually watch the entire video, because I very much would like to know who does and who doesn't. This won't come off. I'm not kidding. Oh no. Hey, a smiley face. Hi, I'm a Johnson Deluxe. This is where things get cool. In there is a bearing. That's right. What you're seeing right there is a bearing. So that is your bearing drive, okay? And that's what allows this guy here to be so darn smooth when you're turning it. Now, again, like I was saying, there is a Chinese version, which you are looking at right here, and there is an American version. I am going to assume, since I do not have an American version, that just like the American-made Century 100B, the only real difference is going to be the American-made reel will most likely have American sizes. How about I put this thing back together and we talk about that? Doing the thing, even though it's already kind of been done, but I still get some greasy fingerprints all over because I still got some stuff I need to show you here real quick. All right, I told you that there were two problems with this reel that and I was told about and got to see some pictures of it. It was pretty interesting. One was the aluminum crank and that hole right there getting wallered. That's right, and becoming doggone near useless. Well, they can become totally useless. Now, the other thing is, because of the way this is made, this side piece here, the sandcastle sticking up, it is pressed, okay? It's pressed into this plate. It is a weak point, okay? It is a weak point. And they will, this entire side piece here, this sandcastle I'm talking about where the shaft goes through, will break off. That's right, it will break right off. And I saw, Gary sent me some pictures of a box of these things that he had. And several, more than several, many, very many, I could see just in the picture of this box with them all in there, had been broken off. They were just broken right off. Now, I don't know what causes that. I don't know if, you know, I think these are aluminum as well. So you're dealing with a reel that, you know, not the strongest thing going. At least with the regular Centuries, I'm going to give you a 45th anniversary to look at here. You know, they don't have that. They have their anti-reverse piece, and then you have the piece that goes straight through and all that. I have never seen one of these break off. I'm not saying that they won't, but I've never seen one do it. I've never owned one of these until Gary sent me this one and then told me its little ins and outs and what its problems are. So there you go. That is the DLX, and that is the problems with the DLX, and I'm hoping at some point to find an American version of this so I can take it apart, and it's probably the only difference is probably tolerances and sizes. The same way with the 100B made in America and the 100B 45th anniversary. Probably the same thing. You're just talking about standard sizes as opposed to metric sizes. And that's where your problem is. Also, spacers in the 45th anniversary that you don't have in the American version. No spacer in here, but it didn't move. I mean, that's not moving. There's no play there. None whatsoever. Then again, maybe tightening that nut right there too tight might be one of the things that pops that side piece off. No gaps there right now. But we're going to fish this thing. We're going to get it out there and put some line on it and let her fly. Let's see what we can do, man. Catch some fish with it and have some fun with that darn thing. Now, we're not done yet. You might think, hey, this is the end of the video already. Nah, no. We're not going to talk about the silver reel or the green reel now. Okay? We're not going to talk about the Century or the Citation now. We're going to talk about something else. Let me go get it. We're going to talk about the Johnson Country Mile. That's right. This is the reel, one of the reels that my friend Harry sent to me, Harry Howard, and I can only guess this is a 90s thing. I haven't looked up the date to find out. I don't know. It's different. It's very different. So, just in case you ever come across one of these country miles, we're going to take it apart, clean her up inside, and see what we can do to make it a little bit more quiet and get a good idea what this thing's all about. What do you think about that? Huh? What's that? Do I have any more green reels to look at? Actually, no. Do I have any more Johnson reels to look at? If you want to know the doggone truth about it, no, I don't. Some of you are probably going, well, let me tell you what, put your arms down. You haven't showered today. I have. Let's take a look at this thing. Let's get it apart and take a look at it. I don't know what's next. Why do you think at the end of each video I say, we'll see you on the next one, whatever the next one may be? I'm not never sure what it is. I don't know from the time I cut that camera off what the next video is going to be. Fly him out of the old seat of your pants, winging it. That's what I do. All right, Country Mile, show me what you got. First, we're going to take this fancy cap off, which appears to be all kind of a stainless sort of thing happening. And it's just got your, what you call your little quarter turn. It's not even a quarter turn, really. It's more like a third of a turn. And that lets your cap come off of there. Harry did tell me there's occasions that gets very hard to get off. So evidently he's had this one apart before. Now we get inside here and we see something. What is this nonsense? We're not making orange juice. What is this thing? It's either, I guess, to be able to grab. Oh yeah, you can do it like that, I guess. Take that off. I wonder, is that plastic or is that? No, that's metal. That's got a little weight to it. We'll drop that in there. Then we'll take that off. Ooh, man, we're getting into some craziness now. Okay, we got a dual retrieval pin there. And it's a sleeved retrieval pin, so it spins when the line goes around. It gives a little less friction going on there. That's good. And it's on more of a swing arm than it is just a straight push in and out. It's on a swing arm. It kind of swings there, as you can see. Is that? Yeah, okay. D-shaped hole there for the pinion shaft to go through. Let's set that in here. Whoa, that is steel if I've ever seen it. And we have a C-clip up top here. Let's pop that out of there. It's always fun trying to make sure that these things don't put your eye out or wind up in Nebraska somewhere. Okay, what do we got going on there? Oh, okay, I see now. This is your, okay, that's your drag. That's one of your drags. Okay, drag washer. So let's set that there. We saw how that came off. Then we're going to have a regular drag washer up top here, an actual drag washer, not the spacer thing. Okay, we're going to set that on top of that because that's how that goes. We're going to take this spool off here. Wow, she didn't want to come off. And we got some funky grease in there. And we have a spacer, or an actual drag washer on the bottom, underneath it there. We'll set that there. Then we have the piece that actually lifts. Let's take this down to the negative zone. Get everything down negative where we need it to be in there. Alright, that's all the way negative, okay? That's going to go on top of that there. Let's put that like that. Let's look at this thing. Okay. That's what your lift is. When you tighten down on your drag, it pushes a pin that's underneath of this silver plate. And due to its shape, I guess it's more of a platter than a plate. So now we see how that works. Let's take that out. And it is concave and it faces downward. The concave part goes down. And then there we have one screw there that looks like it holds the whole shebangy together. I'm just eyeballing. I just want to make sure I don't do anything wrong here. Let's take this screw out. It looks like this screw may be our screw that holds everything together. Okay, now that the camera's back on again. Yes, I have a camera that falls asleep and gets overheated. It's really ridiculous, to be honest with you. When you're in the house, I mean, I could understand it if I were outside in the 1,000 million degree heat, but take that nut out and the crank just pops right out in your hand right there. Now we've got to figure out what makes this come off of here. I took one screw out. Thought maybe that had something to do with it, but it's starting to look like that doesn't have anything to do with it. Maybe it's those two little fellas right there, so we'll take a look at those. Now we have to take into consideration there are some things in here we just don't know about. Yeah, I can feel that loosening up. I think that does something there. Now the other thing we have to watch, we have a little clicker clip right here. We see that? Obviously for the bottom of our spool. And we have to remember that goes over here and it faces that way. Now there's only one way it can go on there. Actually there's several ways it can go on there if you want to force it to, you know, go on there. You can even drill new holes if it makes you happy. We'll leave those two together. And then this blue, yep, there we go. Old blue comes right on off of there. Look at that, ooh, what a nice looking gear that is in there. Which I'm okay with. I can see how it all works. Not overly technical. I can see how it functions in there. Let me get a good eyeball look here. Are we recording? We better be, because I was going to be really mad if I wasn't. This thing is really nice. I'm very surprised how well this is built. Alright, I'm going to show you what you would have to do to take it apart, but it is so clean. And these reels are not young, okay? And I don't like taking stuff apart when it's really not necessary. And this particular reel I've never seen before, so I really don't want to take a chance on breaking something. But it's very okay. You see, you got a C-clip right there. That C-clip right there will come off. Then your spring will come off. Then you can pull this shaft right out the top. The gear will come off in your hand right there, and then you can, you know, if you wanted to clean your gear and all of that stuff, if it was extremely nasty in here. C-clip in there that's in a groove, you pop it out, okay? That's going to give you the play that you need here to get that shaft out of here if you want to take it completely out. You have a C-clip on your shaft right there. You pull that C-clip off, your spring comes off, you pull the shaft out through the top, your gear will come off, and that's it. I mean, down there you have your anti-reverse spring and lever, which isn't even necessary to take off if you don't have to. Then your anti-reverse gear itself is underneath your worm gear. Anyway, that's how that works, and I'm going to oil this thing up and grease it up. It moves very well. And I just, again, do not, there's no necessity here to taking this thing apart and taking a chance on breaking something that works perfectly fine. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. Y'all can say what you want, be mad if you feel like it. I don't care, but I'm not doing it. If it were completely junked up, we'll talk about it later. I don't want to talk about it right now. Doing the thing, part 2. I don't know if we've ever had a part 2 doing the thing here, cleaning them up. Have we ever done that? Have we ever done 2 reels in one session? What am I doing? All right, so there we go. The Johnson Country Mile. Very smooth. Seems to be working just fine. Button pushes. Drag is dragging. I wonder how far that drag will go. I think we could stop a fish with that. Pretty sure we could. Anyway, there's our 2 reels for the day. Yes, both Johnsons. No, both are not green. Neither are green. Silver and blue. Okay, alright, there's some green on this one. Anyway, both very cool reels, and with the deluxe here, I'm very curious to see what an American version's like. I'll bump into one of them one day. It just takes time. These things don't, this type doesn't just jump out at you. It's not exactly one of the reels that you're going to see a lot of. There's also one, just in case you're wondering, that's pink. That's right. It was made for the little girlies back in the days. Back when the girls wanted to have their own personalized fishing reel. That's right. It was pink. And it was called the Princess, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it was. The Princess. So right there, we have the deluxe. There's a pink Princess out there somewhere, and they're very costly. You have to trust me on that. Then we have the Country Mile. I'm really digging that one. I am very much looking forward to flinging that thing, because it's smooth. I think it will do good. I don't see why not. Does anybody else see why not? I don't. Anyway, thank you guys for watching on this double header, I guess you'd say. It's a special edition. Maybe I should have it as a special edition, but it's going to be a special edition when I can put all of these reels in a 5-gallon bucket and actually take it out to the lake and do some fishing with this doggone thing. But the season is upon us. I got things to do, camping stuff to get ready, and we're going to head out to the campgrounds. We got a few places otherwise that we're going to go other than just the normal campground where I usually go. I've got a couple other places in mind. Come along with us. Going to take the Honda Monkey, maybe a golf cart, maybe some fishing rods, maybe a bicycle, maybe my wife. I don't know. She might not go. She might say, that's just too much, man. I can't do it. I understand. Not really. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Totally appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you on the next one, whatever the next one may be. And that is an actual, I don't know. I'm actually baffled. I got no idea what the next one's going to be. No idea. Might be trimming the fingernails on a cat. That is a bloody mess, I can tell you that right there. And I'm the one that ends up a bloody mess. Come on, Boo, let's get some dinner. Ready? You hungry?